Dava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadha Hari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadha Hari Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banacha Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Rad Hamadava Kunja Vihari Jaya Rad Hamadava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadha Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiyara Banachari Yamuna Chari Jaya Rad Hamadava Kunja Vihari Jaya Rad Hamadava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribharadhari Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiyara Banachari Jamuna Tiyara Banachari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya Astatara Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya Astatara Satta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Ananta Gauri Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Shiko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinda Ki Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Srila Prabhupada's book distribution Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. So there's so many wonderful verses in the Bhagavatam. We could pick any verse and it would be a good one. But I thought the appropriate verse today would be the verse after yesterday's verse and the verse before tomorrow's verse. What would that be? What's after yesterday and before tomorrow? What? Okay, good. Today's verse we will read after we chant the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So are we ready for the verse? When I listen to Prabhupada reading the verses, he usually starts out the first time, he says each word by itself, and then he gives the whole line. That makes it a little easier to digest, does it not? Anybody have objection to that way? You can file it on the internet. Okay, this is text 62 of chapter 24 of the 4th canto. Is that what's written up there? Starts with Kriya? Okay, good. Kriya, Kalaper, Idam, Eva, Yogina, Shraddhanavitaha, Sadhu, Yajanti, Sitaye, Bhutendriya Yantaha, Karanopalakshitam, Vede, Cha, Tantre, Cha, Ta, Eva, Kovitaha, Kriya Kalperidam Eva Yogina, Shraddha Nanvita Sadhu Yajanti Sitaye, Bhutendriyantaha Karanopalakshitam, Vede cha tantre cha ta eva kovidaha, Kriya kalper idam eva yogina, Shraddhanvitaha sadhu yajanti siddhaye, Bhutendriyanta Karanapalakshitam, Vede cha tantre cha ta eva kovida, Kriya kalaper idam eva yoginaha, Shraddhanvitaha sadhu yajanti siddhaye, Bhutendriyantaha Karanopalakshitam, Vede cha tantre cha ta eva kovidaha. Repeat. Vaishnavis? Words for words, kriya, activities, kalapai, by the processes, idam, this, eva, certainly, yoginaha, transcendentalists, shraddha anvitaha, with faith and conviction. Remember that, it'll be on the test. Sadhu, properly. Yajanti, worship. Siddhaye, for perfection. Bhuta, the material energy. Indriya, senses. Anta, karuna, heart. Upalakshitam, symptomized by. Vede, in the Vedas. Cha, also. Tantre, in the corollaries of the Vedas. Cha, also. Te, your lordship. Eva, certainly. Kovidaha, those who are experts. Is that all of you? Translation. My dear Lord, your universal form consists of 5 elements: the senses, mind, intelligence, false ego, which is material, and the Paramatma, your partial expansion, who is the director of everything. Yogis, other than devotees, namely the karma and jnana yogi, worship you by their respective actions in their respective positions. It is stated both in the Vedas and in the Shastras that are corollaries of the Vedas, and indeed everywhere, that it is only you who are to be worshipped. That is the expert vision of all the Vedas. Who else is to be worshipped besides Krishna? Think about it. Purport. In the previous verse, we'll read that verse together just so you get the idea, because I am going to test you on these after. My dear Lord, your universal form consists of all 5 elements: the senses, mind, intelligence, false ego, which is material, and the Paramatma, your partial expansion, who is the director of everything. Yogis, other than devotees, namely Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, worship you by their respective actions. In their respective positions. It is stated both in the Vedas and in the Shastras that are the corollaries of the Vedas, and indeed everywhere, that it is only you who are to be worshipped. That is the expert vision of all the Vedas. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the previous verse, Lord Shiva wanted to see the form of the Lord, which the devotees are always interested in. There are other forms of the Lord manifest in the material world, including Brahma and other demigods, and these are worshipped by materialistic persons. In the second canto, 3rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that those who desire material benefits are recommended to worship different types of demigods. And in conclusion, the Bhagavatam recommends akarma sarva karmova moksha kama udara adi tivrena bhakti yogena yajete purusham param. The devotees, the jnanis, who are known as moksha kama, and the karmis, who is known as sarvakama, are all aspiring to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Even when one performs yagyas, as stated here, kriya kalpai, he should always remember the demigods are but agents of the Supreme Lord. Actually, the worshipful Lord is Vishnu, Yagneshvara. Thus, even when the different demigods are worshipped in the Vedic and Tantric sacrifices, the actual goal of sacrifice is Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita 9:23, it is said, Yepi anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhanvitaha tepi mam evakanteya yajanti adipurvakam. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but it is offered without true understanding. Thus, the worshippers of various demigods also worship the Supreme Lord, but they do so against the regulative principles. The purpose of the regulative principles is to satisfy Lord Vishnu. In the Vishnu Purana 389, the very same thing is confirmed. Varnashram varcharata purushena parapumam vishnur arajate panta nanya tatoshakarana. Here it is clearly mentioned that the karmi, jnani, or yogi, in fact, everyone worships Lord Vishnu if he is actually expert in knowledge of the Vedas and the Tantras. The word kovita is very significant, for it indicates the devotees of the Lord. Only the devotees know perfectly that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is all-pervading. Within the material energy, he is represented by the 5 material elements, as well as mind, intelligence, and ego. He is also represented by another energy, the living entities. And all these manifestations in the spiritual and material world combined are representations of the different energies of the Lord. The conclusion is that the Lord is one, and that he is expanded in everything. This is understood by the Vedic version, Sarvam Kalo Idam Brahma. One who knows this concentrates all his energy in worshiping Lord Vishnu. Yesterday we got messages from the Cloud Bank of Nectar. Is that true? We did. And one verse that was quoted, there's one that I think Prabhupada quotes more than any other. In the 7th chapter, the 19th verse, it says, Bahumam Gyanmanante Gananivam Mam Papajate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, realizing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So this is something to be said here. Now we come up with a test. See if you know some of these. Your universal form consists of how many elements? 5. Who knows what they are? And in English? Are you sure? Anybody object to that? Anybody not like those elements? Like to go somewhere where the elements are not? That may be true, but those are the material elements. And it consists of what? The senses, mind, and intelligence, and false ego. This is something to understand. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, it goes into Sankhya. What is the time there? My watch battery died. 7:55. Okay. So, the Sankhya is accounting, understanding what is matter, what is spirit, and who is the controller of both. So we have to understand what things are better. All the bills are money, so they're all the same, right? So if I have a 50 Rand note, you'll trade it to me for a 200 Rand note, correct? Because they're both money, right? So they're all equal? Are they? The 200 Rand is worth more? Or the 50 is worth more? 5 is more than 2. So this is Sankhya, counting. You see, we have this dull matter, right? And that's what's important, because that's what we can see. Because if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. Let's take that premise for a while. If that's true, your cell phone works on microwaves. Anybody can see the microwaves? Well, somebody can, but not us. Does that mean the phone doesn't work? It doesn't mean that. So, above the matter is the senses. And above the senses is the mind. Above the mind is what? Intelligence. So, what many people do is they let the senses become attracted to the matter. And then it engages the mind in trying to satisfy what the senses want. And it uses the intelligence to find the ways and means to satisfy this. This is what most people do. So that must be the correct thing, right? Just like I saw in a bathroom somewhere. It said 500 trillion flies can't be wrong, eat stool, right? So we just go by whatever the majority is doing, and that must be the correct thing. Is that a good way to think? We go by the majority. You wander out in the street, and you just start asking people for advice on finances, medicine, and spiritual life. Just random people, correct? That's not a good way to work. You need to find someone who can direct you, because it's supposed to work the other way around. Krishna is explaining that it's like the soul is the passenger, and the driver is the intelligence, the reins of the mind, and the horses are the senses. So you don't just let the horses go where they want and think you'll end up at your destination. As the passenger, you direct the intelligence to make the mind go, as Krishna says in the 6th chapter, from whenever and wherever the mind goes, you pull it back under the control of the self. It was mentioned yesterday, even if this is difficult, it's still worth doing. We pull the mind back under the control of the senses. And we practice devotion with excuses. Was that it? Or was it exclusive devotion? Many people practice life with excuses, and they just follow wherever the senses take them. Do you think Prabhupada liked excuses? No. He wanted to hear a solution of what you are actually going to do. So we have to direct them where to go. This is why we have to have a working knowledge of how the material world is working. Let's see here. What else should I ask you from here? What kind of expansion is the Paramatma? The partial. And who is the Paramatma the director of? Anyone like to guess? What do they think it is? What? You? What is it? It's what? It directs everything. Let's see here. And who is supposed to be worshipped? We'll give you a multiple choice. Any demigod that can satisfy your desires, A. B. Yourself. C. Anything you want. Or D. Krishna. Krishna? It's not all the above? You're sure it's Krishna, right? That's right. That's the correct answer. And what did Lord Shiva want to see? There's your hint. There's your hint. What did Lord Shiva want to see? What? Sri Sri Radha Radhanath, or the form of the Lord? Or did he want to see the cricket match? I think it says here he wanted to see the form of the Lord. And who worships the demigods, the great devotees or materialistic persons? What does it say in the Gita? Antavatu phalamtesham tad bhavati alpamadisham. Those who are limited intelligence, they worship them. We have to use Sankhya. Before we do something, Krishna says, all that you do, all that you eat, and all that you offer should be, and all austerities you perform should be done as an offering unto me. And we offer the kinds of food that are healthy, right? And that do not involve killing. Many times people don't want to hear the facts on that. What is the worst thing you can eat? Well, where it really gets the worst is you take beef and then they make it at the braai, where they cook it where it slowly burns, and they put barbecue sauce on it. And this creates a chemical called acrylamide, which is very highly cancer producing. And if they really want to make it the worst, they wrap it in aluminium foil. And that's the worst it can get. You take the beef, slow cook it as it burns with the barbecue sauce, and wrap it in aluminum foil. You won't get that here. We take food in the mode of goodness, which does not involve all the additives and preservatives and processing. It's fresh things. So Prabhupada wanted us to get our own farms and produce the things because they come out the best. If you can wait to pick them, not too early, not too late, they come out with the most nutrients in them. And that's what we offer to Krishna, and that's what we eat. So what else is being explained in here? So we worship the demigods because they can give us anything we want. Hiranyakashipu was he worshipped Brahma to become immortal. Did that work out well? What did Brahma tell him? Even I have to die after 311 trillion years, but still he has to die. So Hiranyakashipu, he tricked Brahma. He says, okay, I don't want to die in the day or the night. I don't want to die inside or outside. I don't want to be killed by an animal or a beast. They're translating that into bird language. I don't want to be killed in the day or the night. I don't want to be killed by anything alive or dead. And so Lord Nrsingadev appears. And he's not a man or a beast. He kills him in the doorstep, not inside or outside. It's dusk, it's not day or night. He kills him with his nails, which are not living or dead. So he thought he'd fooled Brahma into a way to become immortal, but it didn't quite work. So the demigods can give limited things. They're agents of Krishna. And to worship demigods to get some material benefit is what's called karmakanda. Krishna is the spiritual God, but even if you go to the spiritual God to ask to have your material desires fulfilled, even though Krishna is the spiritual God, you're not having a spiritual relationship with him, are you? Because you're just asking him as if you have a list of things you want taken care of. Like God doesn't know what to do. George Carlin, the comedian, we see how distributing Prabhupada's books. He had to have gotten this from Prabhupada's books. Because he starts out, he says, what's the use of being God? Because what do you mean by that? He says, well, He says, people think God is waiting around for you to pray to him with instructions. If you have to wait for people's instructions, what's the use of being God? If you're God, you know what to do already. He said, so the shopkeeper's praying, please God, make sure my shop is locked so no thief gets in. And the thief is praying, please God, make sure the shop is unlocked so I can get in and steal something. And then God is confused by conflicting instructions? Is that how it works? That's not how it works, but that's what people are thinking. They give God some instructions. How come you didn't keep it unlocked for me? How come you didn't change it for me? So that's not the way it works. What would be the use of being God if you can't act until someone prays to you with instructions? It shows how amazingly ridiculous it is. You think you're going to explain to Krishna your situation. Of course he knows your situation. He knows everything. We don't. That's the simple difference. And so we find that bhakti means we just want to serve God. We don't have any desires to be fulfilled. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is all-pervading. You know, the Jewish philosopher Moses Maimonides said that God can't be a person because a person can't be in two places at once. So he must just be an energy. But we can't judge God by our limitations. It's true you can't be in two places at once. We are subject to the law of contradiction. Does that mean we contradict each other? It does, but that's not what the law of contradiction is. The law of contradiction is that if you're in South Africa, you can't be in India. If you're old, you can't be young. If you're, let's see what else. You can't be in several places at the same time. That's the law of contradiction. But Krishna is not subject to this law. This verse is explained in the Brahma Samhita, where Brahma says, Advaitam achyutam anadyam anantarupam adyam puranam purusham navijovanamscha vedeshu durlabha adurlabha atma bhakto govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. He is Advaita. He is non-dual. He's achyuta. He's infallible. Raise your hands if any of these. Anybody here infallible? Are you infallible sometimes? Oh? Are you perfect sometimes? Would that be perfect? Means it'd have to be perfect all the time, wouldn't it? So, Anantyam, he's without beginning. He's Anantarupam. He's existing in unlimited forms. He is Adyam Puranam Purusham, the oldest person in creation. So is God painted as an old man? Is he? Who says no? Who says yes, that they paint God as an old man? They do. Michelangelo painted in the Sistine Chapel. He painted God as an old man, reaching out to touch Adam to give him life. But if you're God, what's the use of being God if you have to be an old man? Krishna pulls a good trick. He is Adyam Puranam Purusham, the oldest person in creation. And yet he is Navijovanamscha, always appearing as a fresh youth. This is what makeup does for you. Is you may be the oldest person in creation, but put a little makeup on and you look like a fresh, beautiful youth. Is that correct? This is what the cosmetic company wants you to think. They want you to think all you do is put a little cream on and you look more beautiful than the beautiful. That you can be old and still appear as a fresh youth. You may be 90, but you don't look a day over 80. Does that make you young? No. Does it make you less subject to committing mistakes? By the way, people don't like to hear that the braai is unhealthy. I explained how that's barbecue, cooking it with barbecue sauce with sugar in it. It makes it very unhealthy. And then one woman says, I don't appreciate that. I don't like to hear that. But does that make it different? Is it still dangerous? Regardless of whether she thinks it's not something she likes and they don't appreciate hearing it. People want to hear just what they want to hear, but it isn't necessarily correct and true. So we find that that's the difference here, is that Krishna is to be worshipped exclusively because he is the one Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he may appear in different forms to each of us, but we each have a relationship with him where we worship him in love and try to understand our original relationship with him. And that shows the position of Shiva. Some people think, well, Shiva's God, but he says he wants to see the original form of the Lord. Shiva presents the philosophy a little differently. He engages the people who need to make some progress, but they have some bad activities behind them, and he engages them. But you see here, what does Shiva himself want to see? He wants to see the form of the Lord. So we have to think in that way. We think the demigods may be great, but if they want to see the form of the Lord, that's what they want. They don't want the temporary stuff that's in the middle. They want the supreme original source. Krishna is Govinda, the reservoir of pleasure for the cows and the senses. So they want this, because even if you're somebody great, if you're not Krishna, you're still limited. So we find that being the reservoir of pleasure, that he gives us Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, an ever-increasing ocean of transcendental bliss. That's pretty amazing. You don't get that from the material things. You get the law of diminishing returns. As time goes by, you enjoy it less. They said that with a cigarette ad. Are you smoking more and enjoying it less? What's the obvious solution? Switch brands. Smoke a different brand of cigarettes, because then you'll start enjoying it from the start. So, we should go to Krishna directly, get the reservoir of pleasure, not go to the intermediary demigods, but get the original pleasure. That's why some people think Shiva's supreme, but what is Shiva saying here? He wants to see the form of the Lord. So even the people who follow him should follow him and not try to just get benefits from Lord Shiva that benedict them materially. So any questions or comments about this verse? Raghunath Bhatta will have something to say. He usually has a whole report written there.
When you were talking about the mind, the mind is subtle, and it's a storehouse of thoughts of millions of lifetimes, and sometimes some things pop up you never experience in this life. So does that mean that in your previous life you have done something that is still stored there?
Yes, because we carry with us what we do, but we can undo that by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. The more we concentrate when we're chanting, the more that goes away if that comes out while we're chanting. But instead of going for that, we put the Hare Krishna mantra in, then we clean our brain, and we clean these past karmic activities out. So when they're coming out, we just keep chanting and engaging in service, and gradually that changes. Krishna says that while experiencing the desire for things, by experiencing a higher taste, we become fixed in consciousness. And at least we're fixed so we don't go back to the activities. But those sinful desires, seeds could sprout now, they could sprout anytime later. That's the thing we have to be careful of. They could just sprout all of a sudden out of the blue. And so we have to take more shelter of Krishna. Does that answer that? We have a list of more things? Yes?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class. You're talking about Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva now, he's in charge of the material world. Am I right? Lord Shiva. Because see, from Brahma, Lord Shiva appeared because the four Kumaras didn't want to progenate. So then Lord Shiva appeared. And then, so is he in charge of the material world and Parvati Mata? Or?
Yes, he's in charge of that so that Krishna doesn't have to divert from his pastimes. He's Krishna touched by the material energy.
Okay. And then we find Lord Shiva is meditating, like a lot of people asked me. So on who is he meditating? Or
well, if Lord Shiva's meditating on Krishna, just like Lord Shiva's meditating on Krishna. So just like when Narada, his father's Brahma, and he thought, wow, he's so great, but he noticed he's worshiping someone else. So he's thinking, well, someone else must be God, it must be someone else. Mm-hmm. So Brahma and Shiva both worship Krishna. So what we do is we follow their example, we don't just try to worship them. Hare Krishna. Anything more? We stop there then? Unless there's more information from the Cloud Bank of Nectar? No? All right, Hare Krishna.